depth. So we're now finished with the first chapter of the first book. We're going to chapter 2 now. Chapter 2 in the first book is the sign of Libra. So the sign of Libra is all about now the Redeemer doing the Redeemer's atoning work. We had all the story of his birth, how he was going to be, what was going to happen, and even we have the end from the beginning. He's coming back in victory. So now we need to know the details about that. So the sign of Libra, the Redeemer's atoning work. The whole story of Libra is the price deficient balanced by the price which covers. Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense right now to you, but let's take a look. The Hebrew name for this is marazam. It's a plural. The scales or weighing, or it could be written the scales of weighing. So they use that word to use it to signify the noun scales, but it also is used as a verb, the weighing, or it can be the scales of weighing. So the Arabic name al-Zubana means purchase or redemption. Now, isn't that interesting? And then the Latin name is the name Libra, and that's the name that is stuck with it, and it means weighing. But all of these words in the Hebrew, the Arabic, and in the Latin have a commercial transaction reference. If you had ever heard that word being used in the Jewish culture back then, it would be in some meat shop or grain shop where they're weighing something. It was always in a commercial endeavor. It wasn't talking about how much do you weigh. So this is a very interesting one, that it is in a commercial transaction. And when you put these three together, if we take that Arabic name, which means purchase or redemption, bring it into the Latin, which is where the original Bible, the one that we got our most translations from, came out of the Latin Vulgate. So that word then, that meant the scales or the weighing, bringing it into Libra, the weighing, meant redemption. So if you're in a commercial situation, you're weighing the meat. You're going to buy this meat. So the meat's on one scale. What do you need to balance it on the other? You need enough money, whatever the value of that meat is in that scale, and then what are you going to do? You're going to pay the shop owner that money, and you're going to redeem the meat. You're going to buy the meat. That's where the word redemption came from. From a commercial transaction that meant you weigh something, then you determine the value, and then you redeem it. You pay for it and redeem it. Now, I don't know that that concept is totally foreign to us, but there's something in that understanding the commercialness of the originality of that that takes me to a different level. So the original word was emptio, which meant to buy back in Latin. That was the word for weighing and buying, Libra. The D in redemption was, and this is just a teacher in me, I want you to know this. The D was added, the RE means back. So MPO meant to buy, RE meant back. So you have to buy the meat back from the owner. He bought the meat and paid for it when he got it into his shop. Now you're going to buy it back from him. So it was re-empio. But because the two E's would be together, and there's no way to pronounce that, in Latin they added that sound of a D. So it became redemption. Simply added for easy pronunciation. Okay.
Wow.
So,
I just saw they added the D and it made it red.
yeah.
Just the blood.
There you go. I love it. Yeah, they added the D and didn't even know, right? Here's where I was on the floor. So we already read, the price deficient bounds by the price which covers. There are only 3 bright stars in this constellation. They are equally bright. That's very interesting. To have only 3 and of the same magnitude. Zebin El Gebul, the purchase price which is deficient. That's a really long name for a star. Who named the stars? Okay, I want to go back to that because this is in Arabic, but the Arabics did not name the stars. Okay, so this star in the lower scale, let's see if I can step out here so I can find it. The bright star in the lower scale, way back forever, the name was the price is deficient. So see how far down it's sinking? The star on the top scale, Zuben Ashamael, the price which covers. Now that would be good enough. That would be enough. There's one final star here, which is down below here, and that is the price of the conflict. So there is a price, which is definitely a conflict, that's going to take place in order for the price is deficient to be equaled with the price that covers. Yeah. The price that covers is coming, but it's going to take a conflict. Right there in the stores, thank you. Written in the stars before there was ever a man.
Isn't that 1 Corinthians 6? You were bought with a price?
Louder?
That's 1 Corinthians 6, you were bought with a price, verse 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Purchased and paid for, made his own.
Yeah, you can go on. It's like he counted the cost. We can just, there's multiple scriptures. But to me, I could read the whole Bible and I could quote a lot of those scriptures. But a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's like just looking at that. That God said it's going to be deficient. They're never going to be able to pay for it. Now, I want to show you something on here, and we'll look at it again when we get to this constellation. But this is the claw of Scorpio. Scorpio is the scorpion. Scorpion is the enemy. It is the sting. Death, where is thy sting? Where does it come from? The scorpion. But in Revelation, what comes? Creatures that look like scorpions, tails of scorpions that sting. Here's our first view of Scorpio. But I want you to see where his claw is. What is he attempting to do? What is this bottom scale? What does that represent?
deficient.
The price is deficient. So who's sitting in that scale?
We are.
Mankind, right. Mankind without a redeemer is in that scale because the price is deficient. And Scorpio is trying to grab that scale with mankind and hold on to it.
Wow.
But we've been redeemed.
But we've been redeemed. Well, you see, look at this. You see this? He's barely getting close to it. And you're going to see in another picture why he can't close that claw, because he's close. He's got one piece of that claw underneath that. Thank you, Lord, for the price that covers. And thank you for the price of the conflict. So this is the back end of Centaurus. This is who we just saw, the despised one. Now we know what's going to happen to the despised one, but look what is right under him, the star, the cross. And that is the first of the smaller constellations, the first deacon in the constellation of Libra. So now we're getting the details about the price is deficit and the price is covered and the price of the conflict. Now we're going to get the details about that. That's the story. What are the details? The price of the conflict is the cross. All right here in the same area with telling this beginning story of the first coming. The Hebrew name is Adam. It means the cutting off. It is finished. Now, hello. I don't think there's anybody in this room I have to tell that one to. His last words on the cross. It is finished. By accident? Who named this star? Who named this constellation? He did. So he knew when it was going to be finished. So when he was finished on the cross, he said, okay, that part's done. It is finished. 4 bright stars placed in the format of a cross. It's the most conspicuous star group in the southern heavens. It stands directly in the path of the second deacon of Virgo. The second deacon of Virgo is Centaurus. So it is right connected with this dual-natured, despised one. You cannot separate Centaurus, the despised one, fully God and fully man, from the cross. They move together. And then, of course, this is right next to Libra, the scale. It's actually right next to the star that says the cost of the conflict. And now we move to the next, the second deacon in Libra. Libra is all about making the scales even. The price is deficit, the price covered, cost of the conflict. So the first one was going to be the cross. But what is it about the cross? Now, on here, you can see, here is Centaurus again. Here is Centaurus' shield, and here is his spear. His spear is piercing this animal, sometimes just called a beast. The modern name is lupus or victima, the victim slain. The older name, the ancient name, Asada, in Arabic, Ashadatan, meant to be slain, either slain or to be slain. So they all have the same meaning, but you will mostly see it now called lupus, because they call it the wolf because they say it looks like a wolf. Whatever. So even though the truth in the natural is that Jesus was pierced by that Roman sword, that he was delivered to the Roman garrison to be put on the cross, even though that's the method that happened, clearly Jesus said many times, no man takes my life. I lay down my life. What you see here is Centaurus. Remember, the healer, the teacher, the prophet, the despised one, killing the victim. So he was the perpetrator and he was the victim. What you see here is him slaying himself. Here he is slain by Centaurus. Centaurus is him. So we already see the picture in the sky of what Jesus is going to tell us about later. My favorite of this, and it wasn't in any of these books, which I was like, thank you, Jesus, is the story of Isaac and Abraham and Isaac. They're walking along the road, going up to Mount Moriah, where God told him to go up and sacrifice his son. There is Isaac walking along, and he says, Father, I see the wood. Father, I see the fire. But where is the lamb? Where is the lamb for a burnt offering? This is one of my favorite sentences in the whole Bible. And Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for the burnt offering. Now, it could be that I will provide for myself a bottle of water, or I provide myself as a bottle of water. This is one of those things that only the Holy Spirit could have written. God will himself provide a lamb for the sacrifice. He'll make sure there's a lamb there for the sacrifice, which he did. But the really true meaning of the way this is written is God will provide himself the lamb. It's to be real careful when we teach kids on Easter that God crucified his son. No, God didn't crucify his son. Jesus was God, and he pierced himself. It's a whole different concept. God gives us things in the natural so we can understand a spiritual reality. But it stops at some point because the spiritual can't be 100% the natural. And that's why he couldn't let Abraham sacrifice Isaac. Oh, well, that's another story. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like back in the school ministries. Okay, here we go. How to study the Bible 101. All right. If you haven't been to a school of ministries, that's a good, right there is a good, that's kind of what you can expect, those kinds of those stories. Okay, so note the location of the brightest star. The Latin name here is Victima. True, Jesus was by wicked hand slain, but here we see him slain by Centaurus by himself. In John 10, Jesus said, I lay down my life for the sheep. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have the power to lay it down, and I have the power to take it up again. And Hebrews 9 is another just absolutely confirming this. He offered himself without spot to God. He put away sin. Here we go. This is the one to me that speaks to this vision or this picture of the scales. He offered himself without spot to God. He put away sin. The price was deficit. By the sacrifice of himself, the price is covered.
That was Hebrews 9.
That is Hebrews 9:11 and then verse 26. To me, there you've got it. You could put those two scriptures on those two scales. And the brightest star is in his right heel. Now, why do you think that is? Yes. So this is another part of Genesis 3:15 being shown in the stars. He will bruise your heel. So Jesus is dead. Victim is dead. That's the price of the conflict, the death on the cross. And I don't even know, I'm looking at this in okay, so the first deacon the cross came before this one. So the price of the conflict, the only way that Jesus could die. So let's do this well. We don't want to just look at the pictures. The only reason Jesus could actually die was what? He had no, say it louder, sin. So even if he had died with no sin, he couldn't, first of all, he couldn't have died. And even if he did, he could not have gone to hell, couldn't have gone to meet Satan. So the only reason Jesus could die was he took our sin. Oh, so that is the bruising of the heel. Satan wanted Jesus to experience sin. Jesus willingly did it. But I think that's one of the things, when I get to heaven, I think that's one of the things we're going to be so amazed at. It wasn't the death on the cross. It wasn't the dying. It was him becoming sin. I think we have no clue what that cost him or what that was like. Good?
Yes.
Okay. Price is deficit. Price is covered. The cost of the conflict. We saw the cross as the instrument of the conflict. We see Jesus laying down his own life, being willing to be bruised in the heel to become sin. And now the third deacon in this is the crown. See, immediately as he satisfied the price covered, the cost of the conflict, he died on the cross. He allowed himself to die, to take the sin, so that he could go for 3 days and do the battle. But he became victorious, and then what? God exalted him and sat him at the right hand. He said, right before he died, in John 18:17, he said, Father, restore to me the glory I had with you before. Here it is. He was obedient to the death of the cross, and immediately we see his restored glory. Yes?
And he became King of Kings.
I'm sorry.
And he became King.
And he became King of Kings. Yes. His glory was restored. Yes.
I'm following along, looking at the constellations on Star Safari. Amazing. But it says that brightest star on the heel is actually, in fact, a triple star system consisting of two rather close sun-like stars accompanied by another one.
I heard that recently, that the new Hubble telescope got closer and they saw it was more than one star. Triple star. Wow.
Oh, it's good.
Send that to me. Send that to me. Or later. I'll get it from you later. That's cool. Every time the Hubble telescope gets a bigger lens and goes farther out, we learn more. Woo, it's a triple star. Okay. Woo-hoo. You know that blesses me. Go to number 3. Okay, so here we are with the corona, the crown bestowed. The cross is closely followed by a crown. The Hebrew name Atara, royal crown. Arabic name Al-Isili, an ornament or a jewel, and its brightest star is Al. It's not the PH in phone. So have to think about that. I can't bring the other PH. It's not an F sound. Anyway, the name of it is the Shining. Now, if the cross is if closely followed by the crown, the northern crown. That's what this is actually referred to as a northern crown. Philippians 2:6 says, God hath highly exalted him for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor. And that's in Hebrews 2:9. There are 21 stars in this constellation, and it is easily recognizable because it has 6 stars that form a crescent in the sky. So when you're looking at it, it forms that crescent right around the beginning. So I think we can't maybe see one of them on here, but this is the crescent. And there's the brightest one. Okay. I'm not going to start this. It's quarter of. Well, thank you for that. Let's just take a minute and just kind of go back and go, okay, what's your takeaway from today? What's an outstanding thing, even if you knew it before, it's like been reinforced, or what's something you learned that you never knew? Nothing, so we'll have to teach this all over again. Okay.
The thing with the